Hey Mini enthusiasts, how you doing? I hope you're well and I hope you're having a great day. I've hurt my thumb, a bit of an accident with the grinder, but it's okay. It's only a flesh wound. I think I'll live. A bit of a plaster with a bit of masking tape over the top just to stop it getting grubby. In today's episode, we're going to start building up the front subframe. So before the subframe goes back in, we're going to fit the top arms, the HiLos and suspension cones, just because it makes it so much easier. So I hope you enjoy this week's video. Let's get into it. Right, so next job is we want to get this subframe back in, but I want to get the top arms in first and the front suspension cones, just because they're much easier to do on the bench than they are to do in the car. I probably won't fit the front arms, tyre bars and hubs until the subframe's actually in the car. But certainly top arms is much easier to do now while you've got it on the bench. Just for comparison, the obligatory cone comparison shot. So new cone on the right, 37-year-old cone on the left. There's about an inch difference in height between the two. So it's quite amazing how much they compress. Yeah, we've got all new rubbers, new bump stops, subframe mounting bushes, everything like that. So yeah, let me just get it reassembled and that'll be pretty much ready to go in then. Right, there we go. So that's top arms in both sides. That's the subframe pretty much ready to go in now. I'm not going to build it up anymore because it's just as easy to do it in the car as it is to do it on the bench. I'm going to watch that video back, I think, in time lapse and think, God, Keith, you made that look difficult. So this side, maybe I'm a little bit out of practice. So there's a few little things to look out for. I mentioned at the beginning about using the cone compressor makes it easier. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. I can't imagine doing it without the cone compressor with new cones. It is, I would imagine it's going to be a real struggle to do that, especially on the car. So the cone compressor really helps. Now, the mistake I made doing this side, a little bit over enthusiastic. It's not that long ago I'd done Sprout actually, so I should have remembered from that. So there's one thing to look out for. You might be using a different set of HiLos, so they might be slightly different. These are the mini spares HiLos. They originally made by Ripspeed, but they're the mini spare HiLos. They're really good actually because you can adjust them on the car from the top, so you haven't even got to take the wheels off or anything like that. You get a hexagonal bar, I think, from mini spares. And if you go over, if you watch Dave Jaguar's channel on his race mini, he's actually done that on the front and the back, so it can be adjusted on the car without actually jacking it up. But the point is, there isn't much space in here for getting that arm in. It's really, really tight. I put the bump stop in first, or the lower bump stop, the rebound stop. Don't put that in till last because you need that little bit of extra movement there to get that arm in. And as you can see, like that, it fits perfectly okay. You got the HiLo wound all the way in, so you want it as small as possible. But the mistake I made was what you'll see when you use a cone compressor is that I wound the cone compressor in too far. So there's a metric thread in here that lines up with there. Make sure you get it right because some are metric threads and some are imperial. So my cone compressor actually comes as two kits. As you screw it in, you'll see it comes out the bottom of there. And what I've done was screw it in too far. And when you do that, when you go to fit the HiLo, as you see, the HiLo then sits proud and won't go all the way up. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you've got enough thread in there because you're putting quite a lot of tension on that cone as you're adjusting it up, but you need to make sure there's enough thread so it goes all the way through the nut, but it's not sticking out too far that the HiLo then doesn't go on. So that's pretty much through, so all the threads are engaged, and then when I put the HiLo on, it goes on without fouling and gives you the clearance you need. So if you're struggling, it may be just that you've wound the HiLo, the cone compressor on too far. As I say, look, it sticks out the bottom there, and then there's not much point in compressing the cone because what you're doing is taking it away with the tool. So that's one thing to look out for. Let me just show you on the subframe as well, a couple of things to be mindful of. So another couple of things to be mindful of as you're putting the arm in. These rubbers here, they can get crimped or they can fall out of position. In fact, they almost certainly will come out of position. So you've got to make sure they're back in position and they're over. There's like a thick metal washer each side, and you've got to make sure they're over that washer. They're like grease seals, so they're very easy to get to come off as you're wiggling the arm trying to get it around and in. I struggled with so there's top bump stop and there's a bottom rebound stop. This stops it crashing when you go over big bumps and the arm comes back down again. The old ones hadn't failed, but I replaced them just because it's old rubber. They're actually really squidgy. What I found is that it has a screw in the front that goes there, and then it hooks over a dimple in the actual subframe under the lower arm. I really struggled to get it over that dimple. In fact, I don't think I have, but I thought I'll get it all in, I'll get the tension on there, I'll let it rest for a few days, and I might take it off and have another go at getting it in. I don't know how important it is, but it's really difficult to get it sat over the dimple at the back and screw it in at the front. It may be because it's powder coated that the paint's a bit the powder coat's a bit thick here, so I might have to, once it's in the car, or maybe before then, put the cone compressor back in, lift the arm up, scrape a bit of paint off, and then screw it back in. But I don't know how important it is to be on the bit over the back. I bet loads of people don't fit it on the back because it is a real pain. But yeah, let me know. Aside from that, yeah, I think it's pretty much ready to go in the car now. As I say, look out for those rubber seals inside. Cone compressor is almost a must to get it in. Don't forget to put the bump stop in, because that really needs to go in first. I guess you can probably fiddle around and just about do it with the cone in, but it's not very easy. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I will catch you again soon.